All right, folks, this is a little addendum to my part 5, and I should have included this in my talk, but my talks tend to go very long. I know, but anyway, it's better to have too much than not enough, I guess. So yeah, I got admonished on my YouTube post for the part 5 video, and I did things a little bit out of sequence, and rightly so. I should have picked up on it, but my plan was to go and do the suspension afterwards as well. So what I was doing was basically getting a rough cut on the suspension system. And the reason why I did it in error, in showing you, um, was the fact that I did not have all the appliances on the tone arm when I did the spring balancing. And of course, that's going to throw things off a little bit because you're adding a counterweight, you're adding the head shell, and I think, if our memory serves me correct, I did it without. And basically what I wanted to do is just get it to a level where, it wasn't grinding on that post that protects the motor protection post, because it was when I had it first set up, when I just put the springs on it, I didn't adjust them. So I wanted to do a sort of a rough adjustment. That was not by any means the final adjustment. As you know, I plan on, if you've been following this video series from part 1 through part 5, you will know that I have a plan to replace this plinth near the end. When I do a lot of that stuff, things could get out of kilter and everything. So the other plan I have is, I'm using a cheap Audio-Technica cartridge right now for the setup, just in case, something goes wrong and I mash the cartridge and all that sort of stuff. My plan is to actually go with a much nicer cartridge than this Audio-Technica. I have a Goldring E3 that I plan on putting on it. So I was showing you all of that stuff about how to do the cartridge alignment using the protractor method, and also the Thorens little gauge method. So in my haste, I did the spring suspension video, part of the video, probably too soon, in that I did not have all the components on. And if you're doing the spring suspension, sort of a double-edged sword, because you're never going to get the weight completely right for every situation. As everybody knows, vinyl comes in different thicknesses and different weights. So you have 180 grain, the newer vinyl or records are coming out in much heavier, thicker platters of 180 grain vinyl, or gram, whatever. And the older, thinner ones, of course, from the 70s and 80s, which a lot of us, sort of grew up with, and 60s even. I hate to give out my age here. Anyway, so yeah, so that was a rough cut in doing the suspension. And in this case, the way you should do the suspension, and again, this is another more or less rough cut, but what I've done is I've balanced the arm, everything's balanced, the weights are where they should be, because center of mass shifts as the weights move slightly, ever so slightly. I've got my anti-skating, everything sort of set up correctly, and you should also have a record on there, the type of record that's consistent with what you're playing. So if you're playing 90% of the thinner records and not 180 gram records, maybe you should be balancing it towards the thinner record size. But you'll notice that I did all of the settings and everything, and even though I've put the masses on here and I've put the record on here, I have not touched the springs at all. As I mentioned, you want to sort of do your spring test not by punching or just poking the center spindle, because that's actually off center and it's going to start causing a wobble, even though you might have it correctly balanced and everything. So really, what you want to do is find the center line, or find the line between the pivot point and the spindle. And I go to about where the label is. It may change, may shift, but I mean, that's basically where your center of mass is, depending on how everything's balanced and everything. And then you do your bounce, and you will find that it's pretty good. You know, I might tweak it a little bit more when I get the, I'm not going to tweak it any more than I have already. So I've got everything aligned. I've got the protractor set. Everything's ready to go. My record's on. I've even added on my test bench here, I've got a little phono preamp that's plugged into my little speaker over here. So we can just do a quick little sound check. I'll be doing that in the next part. But so there you have it. When you're doing your suspension adjustment, bear that in mind, and I should have pointed that out, and I apologize. You should do it when it's in the all-up condition as to how you're going to operate it, and with the weights and everything all set up correctly. Did it early. I probably won't show the video later just because I spent so much time on it with this video series. But prior, when I have everything, the new plinth on, I will go around and adjust all those settings, and especially the new when I put the new cartridge on, it's a much more massive cartridge than this, so it's going to change the where it's going to be in the head shell as far as subscribing that arc, that pivot to overhang arc that exists on those barrel protractors that I use for the Thorens. So that was just a little bit of a glitch on my part, and I'm glad that the person on YouTube pointed that out. And if I have any other errors, like I say, I don't profess to be the all-seeing, expert on Thorens turntables. I just have a special like for the Thorens TD-160 series of turntables. So there you go, as a hobbyist. Okay, I hope that explained things better.